good? Back with another episode of the Major Music Lounge podcast. It's your host, D Dot, and today we're actually going to have a artist by the name of Marcus Waine, who's going to stop by to talk to us about his latest release, Singleton, his journey creating music, and more. If this is your first time tuning into the Major Music Lounge podcast, we like to talk to independent artists as well as producers just about their journey creating music. We've had on app developers, sound designers, people that have had experience with music publishing, so they may have something in television and film. We've also had on content creators and just artists also that kind of document their journey by creating content as well. So if you're interested in being on the Major Music Lounge podcast, you could actually follow me on Instagram at d._major music. Same thing on TikTok while that's still here. Also on X or Twitter at d.mme. Now let's go ahead and get into the interview. All right, we're back with the Major Music Lounge podcast, and I'm actually joined by artist Marcus Waine. What's good, my brother?
How you doing? Thanks for having me on tonight, man.
Oh, not a problem at all. Not a problem. Kind of like we're talking about, we've been discussing doing the show for a little bit, and just glad to have you on and finally get a chance to catch up. I checked out your latest album, Singleton. I really like that. We're gonna talk about that, but tell our audience, our viewers, how did you get started creating music? Like, when did you first started creating music?
So I would say more on the like professional side of things. I'd say around like 2019. I was kind of wrapping things up with college and actually went to school for music, Kent State. Shout out Kent State. But I think started to take recording and stuff seriously around that year. So I dropped my first project that fall. Actually, and that's where the whole Singleton, the idea for that started, and seeds got planted, and that's where we're at today. So
So that was like prior to the pandemic, correct?
yes,
Yeah. Okay.
yes,
The reason I asked that question because I've also interviewed a lot of people, and I know like around that time was a lot. In fact, when I started the podcast, but there was a lot of people, doing a lot of creative things around that time.
right.
But I listening to Singleton now as a mentioning as a artist or commercial releases, should I say, 2019. Have you like sang all your life?
I can honestly say I have. I want to say this singing for me goes all the way back. I want to say to around like age like 4 or 5, roughly around that time. I got it from my mom. She used to sing in our church choir a lot, so
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was. And my dad actually, he's got music roots too, with singing and everything. So it was really fun. But yeah, it kind of it started when I was little, and then it all through school, choir,
Yeah, yeah.
musical stuff like that, and I started taking the piano and instruments and stuff. Started around like I'd say like 5th grade, learning piano, and then guitar just kind of fell in there too. But yeah, it's been young age from a young age. Yep.
And mentioning that you play instruments, do you do your own production as well, or you work with producers?
So early on, I did my own production. I'll be honest, those first early like I guess if you want to call it like the SoundCloud era that I had,
Yeah, yeah.
it was a little rough at first, but I found my footing. But I would say now I do work with producers. I still try to stay a little bit hands on with like the technical stuff, but no, I'm like, hey, if somebody's smarter than me and can kind of give me like, show some guidance and show some things that like I either haven't seen or whatnot, then I trust it and kind of go from there. So it's a good mix of both.
Yeah, yeah. I I do both, and I can tell you, sometimes I do like to work with other producers as well. Just I don't know, I think it sparks something else creatively. But at the same time, there are just certain times where I might write a song initially and I'll just build the beat around that. So that's kind of how I create as well. And listening to a lot of your music, I got a music soul child type of vibe. Would that be one of your inspiration or people that influence you?
I would say so. Not so much. I would say like early on, but like I think the vocal style that he has and stylings, I think I can honestly say it's pretty similar. I guess like his falsetto and like the higher range and stuff like that. But yeah, definitely for sure one of the influences vocally. So
Who else? Who? Any other artists, maybe?
honestly, I mean, I hate to be cliche, but like, of course, like the Giveons, the Trey Songs, the Frank Oceans, that's always been a real big Daniel Caesar. Um, I will say now, a lot of the female artists now are starting to be more of an influence, I think, on me now, especially with SZA kind of blowing up like on the mainstream and stuff like that. I've really been listening to her like production, how she does a lot of cool things on her albums. So it's kind
Yeah.
of nice.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And Singleton that came out earlier, like what, March, February?
About early March, yeah, early
Okay.
March, yeah.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about the album as far as, like what was your inspiration behind creating this album?
So I would say it started about, I want to say about 3 years ago, actually. I never thought I'd say that, but I came out with a single on an EP that's actually not available anymore, unfortunately, but it was called Singleton's Introspection. And I kind of just did a lot of writing and a lot of just brainstorming and thinking of like, how can I make myself stand apart from everybody with like my own like type of like brand or like this character, I guess, if you will. So the writing just started from there, and then I listened to a lot of Thundercat throughout that period. So that kind of was he was like the, I guess, musical inspiration for a lot of it. Um, and then honestly, just like I tell people, just life experience. A lot of the songs, I mean, there's kind of like an undertone of about like love, breakup, stuff like that. Um, but it just came from a real like natural place of just like living life and just experiencing things and trying to get it on paper without it sounding like um not I don't know, not cookie cutter, but like still original, but kind of in that sense. So
Yeah, yeah, it's a very like I think very soulful album. Like I was just listening to it like a week ago and the vibe like it really kind of took me back to that early 2000s R&B. And I think that's kind of what the music industry in some way is missing. Like it's kind of hard to find. Like actually, do you classify yourself as an R&B singer? Because like I did see Pop on there. Yeah,
yeah, so it was kind of a dig because I had you kind of get put in a box when you do like a certain type of music, and I consider like everything's kind of like the lines are so blurred nowadays where I feel like now there's like people that are R&B, they're considered pop, and then there's some R&B that's like people nitpick too much and they're like, oh, it's neo soul or it's like neo R&B or anything like that. And I
yeah,
think I wanted to label it as a pop album so people wouldn't feel like, oh, well, he's just like in this box, because there's like some songs like I think off the top of my head, like Wednesday. I actually did a cover of "Blessed" by Daniel Caesar on the, I guess, deluxe version, if you will. And it kind of is like it's just like a pop song. I mean, when you think about it, so it's, mm, I would say I'm an R&B artist that draws from a lot of different like influences and stuff like that, but
yeah,
definitely like R&B and soul for sure.
yeah. I mean, but I see what you're saying. Like I notice there are some R&B artists, and I mean even some hip hop artists. They may have that one or two singles on their album that sound kind of popish,
Yeah,
and then they have everything else. There's music for the mainstream that
yo,
kind of get everybody over to hear your album. And it could sometimes sound a little, just like that pop music. In fact, I think Usher kind of went in that direction to some degree. But that's just the way it is. And
Right.
yeah, sometimes that's what you got to do as well. Do you have any plans for any videos for Singleton?
So I actually I do there were some ideas to do kind of like a short film for it, sort of like a transitional type thing, but that is in the works. Still, I can say that I'm working with a local videographer in my area, and we're going to be picking out some locations and kind of seeing how we can make it into a little movie almost, if you will.
Sure.
Um, I'm actually working to kind of I guess like on a compilation, if you will, for some of my favorite albums in general, just to do kind of like the same idea, but make it into like a little music, almost like a visual album, basically, kind of just for people to kind of get an idea of, you know, something different, just something different. So
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot because I feel like a lot of people shoot videos without a concept behind it. And the fact that you're making it kind of like a movie, a short film to some degree. I've had some friends that have done that as well. And I think, the whole idea is innovative. In some instances, like I've seen videos where there's even a little bit of acting involved kind of at the beginning and the end. So I think that's
yeah.
pretty cool. Now, where are you from?
So I'm from little old Canton, Ohio. If you're
Okay.
familiar with the Pro Football Hall of Fame, that's like the one thing we
Yeah.
got,
Yeah.
other than the OJs. I always tell people. So kind of our
So
little claim to fame.
so are you a Bengals fan?
I no, actually, I will say this year I turned into a Browns fan, but I'm actually a New Orleans Saints fan, so I get a lot of
Okay,
flack for it.
word,
So
word. Word, word. Yeah, I'm from Louisiana originally. I'm not a Saints fan. I'm a Raiders fan.
okay,
Um, but I kind of if I'm not watching the Raiders, I watch the Saints partially because they got the Raiders QB, former QB Derek
yeah,
Carr.
yo,
So yeah, I'm still kind of a fan of him, so I still watch. Um, but yeah, now tell us a little bit about like your creative process. Now you mentioned earlier you work directly with producers. Are you one, kind of like I was describing earlier, as far as writing out the songs first, writing out the thoughts at least, and linking up with your producer and just telling them what kind of sound you want, or does your producer like send you a zip file of beats and you go through them and see what fits your vibe and write to it?
I would say it's a good mix of both. I would say there's some days where you just get, like you said, that zip file, and you're like, oh man, and then the writing, you just start, get out the notebook and just go to town. I would say my main way of how I go about things, I just get like word web and I literally just start putting ideas together and trying to map and see how I can like place lyrics together. Just what sounds like more cohesive, I guess, for the most part. But it's a good mix of both. I think on good days you hear that one song and you're like, all right, let me get writing. And then other days you're
Yeah.
like, I have the song, but I don't have the music. So it's like you kind of got it's a good trade off, I think. So
Yeah, yeah. And like it's something that I've wanted to do. I make a lot of like hip hop beats, but I've thought about venturing into like R&B at some point. We'll kind of see how that goes. Um, Now I know the year has just started. 2024 has just started. I can't believe we're almost halfway through the year.
yeah.
To be honest. But like, what other plans do you have for 2024? You mentioned the video. Do you have any performances or, working on other projects too?
So I will say I do have there is a show that I have. It's actually upcoming in, I want to say it's July, around the second week in July. It's at a venue called the Rialto in Akron, Ohio. It's like an emerging artist type series. So basically I get a chance to it's like I think around, I want to say like maybe 2 hours to showcase my music to people that aren't aware. It's sort of like a get to know you kind of concert night. So
Yeah, yeah.
definitely looking forward to that. Other than that, really just focusing on my brand. Singleton is actually, I guess I can kind of say it now. So this is like the big reveal. I'm working on making that a kind of like a collective where we focus on not just the musical aspect of things, but like photography. Actually diving into fashion for the first time, so that's going to be cool. Working on some new merchandise and items and stuff like that. Um, and then of course music. I'm actually working. It probably won't be out this year, but I'm working on the first full length album, if you will. So that's going to be, um, fingers crossed, that should be out. I want to say around the fall. I'd say like maybe early winter. So that's kind of those are the goals for the year for the most part for me. So
Yeah, yeah, I'm going to be looking forward to, whatever comes next, especially that music video that you told us about earlier. Um, they want to ask as well. Now you found me online about our link to Anthony Church through a post that he had put up or reposted that I posted. You were on a Proven Knowledge podcast?
I was, yes. Actually, I want to say it was just a few weeks ago, so it wasn't that long ago.
Okay, okay. How was that? I thought it was a very cool experience. Shout out to Anthony and everything that he's doing. For all of our listeners and viewers, if you're also looking for another cool podcast to check out the Proven Knowledge podcast and go ahead and hit Anthony Church on Instagram with a follow. It's just like that, Anthony_Church, and hit him with a follow. But what was that like?
It was nice. I thought it was cool just to kind of have, just like we're having now, that conversation about kind of like why you do what you do, basically. What are your influences, stuff like that. Bunch of upcoming stuff. It was just nice to have a conversation about just the stuff we like, stuff we
Yeah.
do, making music, doing the stuff we love. So it was nice. He's a good guy. He's a really good guy.
Yeah, very good guy. I often like, and I had a past guest that talked about this, but like, how important do you think it is for independent artists and producers, to go on to podcasts to talk about, their journey creating music, to network with other creators as well? Like, how important do you think that is as a music creator?
I think that is one of the most crucial things, honestly, because I mean, there's people are only going to know you for as many people that you like introduce yourself to. So it's like you can say that you do music and stuff like that, but you kind of got to take the chance and put yourself out there so people can know who you are and network. And it's honestly a lot of DIY. I think when it comes to it, you just got to like put that hand out there hypothetically and like, hey, I'm so and so, this is what I do, and just try to make the best of it and try to get your name out there the best you can. So it's very crucial. Very, very, very crucial.
Yeah, I think so as well because like I feel like whether that podcast has like 10 people or whether they have 1,000 people, that's 10 people that didn't know who I was, before the podcast, and that even if they give my music a chance one time, I may keep some, I may, they may not like
you
it,
know,
but at least they gave me a shot. And not only that, it's also led me to working with other producers, collaborating with other artists, and kind of like with Anthony Church, he found me actually on TikTok. And he
okay.
reached out to me then on Instagram about just networking and getting on each other's show, and then that kind of just for both of us led artists and other creators our way. So I think it goes a long way in terms of networking, and you never know even what other opportunities can come of that. So yeah. Where can our listeners find your music?
So I am on, of course, the main giants, Apple Music and Spotify. Still on SoundCloud. Everything still gets uploaded at Marcus Waine. Wayne with an I, not a Y. That's what I always tell people. So any of the major streaming brands. I think we're still on Pandora for I always say for for
Pandora.
the seasoned folk. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but
Man,
yep.
that's like now when I hear Pandora, I think about 10, 15 years ago, I was working at Best Buy and we used to just put Pandora up and
Yeah.
and just
Oh man.
chill, listen to some beats, man. And yeah, that's what I hear. And where can our listeners also follow you at online on
So
socials?
I am on I guess technically now I consider Spotify like a sort of like a social media thing now. So definitely on Spotify. At the moment, we're just on Instagram right now, Marcus_Waine. If you type me in, I'm the guy that's standing with the I think I got the trees on my my
Oh,
little
yeah.
profile pic. So but yeah, Marcus Waine, pretty sure I'm the only one on there. So if you find me, that's me. So
Yeah, go ahead and give Marcus Waine a follow and check out the Singleton album available, like you said, on all streaming platforms. I really like the album a lot and look forward to whatever comes next. And if you have anything, feel free to reach out.
absolutely, for sure.
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram at d._major music. If you're on X or Twitter or whatever, d.mme. And if you're listening to this podcast or you're watching this on YouTube, snap a screenshot and tag us on Instagram, give you a shout out as well. And this has been another episode of the Major Music Lounge podcast, D. Dot and Marcus Waine. We are out.
Major Music.